Hey guys, this is Tauna. Today we're going to be talking about everything to do with the upcoming Final Fantasy set. A huge kind of, summary video essentially prior to the big reveal stream next week. So this is going to be the channel that you want to be coming to for all of your, Final Fantasy news needs and news beyond that as well. This is a huge set coming out that is one of, if not the best Magic the Gathering set of all time. I am, I'm middling excited about it. I'm not a huge kind of Final Fantasy fan, but I know that there's so many people who have been buying this up as soon as it's going up, whether they're, scalpers or people actually really excited about it. So these set details, this is the first Universes Beyond set that will be standard legal. So, basically every format you're going to be able to play these cards in. And it's going to be coming to Magic Arena in full. The cards will feature the games from the first game up to 16, but not the spin-off, sequel, or remakes. And there's a number of different special treatments, of course, a bonus sheet, and each card also has a game identifier. You can see here I've circled it down on this cloud one that says what, Final Fantasy game they come from, which is great if you are like me and you have no idea about who these characters are. The release date is going to be June 13, 2025. So into the mechanics, the first one here we've got is summons. These are saga creatures to reflect like the temporary nature of summons. The first time sagas have been creatures as well, besides being animated somehow. It's very interesting because, like, say for example, this summon Shiva, you're going to play it turn 1, it can attack on turn 2, but then on turn 3, it's actually going to get sacrificed prior to being able to attack. So you're really only getting kind of, one turn out from this. However, there is a bunch of different ways that you could potentially manipulate this. I assume there's going to be some kind of commander / legendary that's going to help you manipulate these to keep them around for longer. We've got legendaries. Obviously, this is going to be based around Final Fantasy, and the main characters are really important, like Lord of the Rings. And there's going to be heaps of legendaries. I think that's a given. Huge amount of legendaries. They can also appear as low as uncommon rarity. So we're going to see heaps of new legendaries from this, which means heaps of new, commanders too. Now into the bonus sheet. So each pack is going to come with a Through the Ages bonus sheet card. These are skinned cards. So you can see here, this one here is Yuffie. I assume that's how it's pronounced. But they are actually, Yuriko the Night, the Tiger Shadow. So this is an existing Magic the Gathering card, essentially, skinned as a card from Final Fantasy. This is using existing concept art from Final Fantasy to highlight some of the original artists and everything. I'm not a huge fan of like this one here. I love the dragon, mostly because it's like a full art one rather than this is just the like concept art shoved onto a plain gray background. But I don't know, maybe some of the other ones will look great as well. Only legal in whatever format they're already legal in. In Commander, you'll be fine. But, some of them, say, for example, will be legal in Standard. Some of them will only be legal in like Legacy, etc. The set code for this is FCA. There is special treatment. So we've got the extended art here, like normal. There's these borderless character ones. So these will have like whatever game they're from in the background. So you can see here the XIV here for 14 for this Emmet. And then there's also these Yukio woodblock art ones, which I love the art for. It's really cool. And there's going to be a bunch of different cards for each of these. I believe there's another one, which is like anime-esque art, but I don't think that we've seen that yet. There is a starter kit. So this is designed for newer players to learn the game, or for, a veteran to grab and learn the game and teach someone else. So these are 2-player starter kits where each person's going to get 2 60-card decks that is based around either Sephiroth, Planet's Heir, or Cloud over here as well. They come with everything that you need to learn to play the game, plus 2 redemption codes for Magic Arena. And these are the Sephiroth and the Cloud that are going to come with it. So these are going to be standard legal cards. If you pick this up, you're going to be able to play them in standard if you like. However, they are also, obviously going to be legal in Commander, and if you want to use them in your Commander decks, you're able to as well. It's a great way to pick up some, good cards. Usually they have some exclusive cards here as well. Assumedly, this Sephiroth and Cloud are going to be exclusive here. So we've also got Commander decks. There is 4 different Commander decks available if they're not sold out already wherever you're living. Each focuses around a different game and even a potential story within that game. For example, the Terra one here. And there's also a collector's edition of each, which is going to be more expensive and has special ripple foiling. So the first one here is the Revival Trance. This is based around Final Fantasy VI's heroes and villains, and the main commander is Terra. And it's themed around that second half of the game where you're rebuilding your party from the grave and stuff. And the whole thing is filling your grave and then reviving your fallen heroes. We've also seen the secondary commander for this, which I'll show in a second. So there's two different ways that we're going to be filling our grave, most likely. Red and black include a whole bunch of different ways to, draw cards, discard cards, to selectively kind of prune cards from your hand into the graveyard. There's also milling, which is just taking cards directly from your library, putting them straight into your graveyard. And that's what the Terra Herald of Hope, which is your, base commander here, is going to do. She is at the beginning of combat, you're going to mill cards, and then she gains flying. So, you're going to be able to get a whole bunch of that. And then you're going to be able to bring those cards back as well, which is the second part of Terra's ability here. We've also, as I said, seen Celeste here, which is the kind of discarding and then drawing. And then also, if cards enter from your graveyard, you're going to put +1/+1 counters on each creature you control. This card's so crazy that people are already looking at it potentially for like CEDH, the competitive commander. So as I said, the revival part comes with reanimating cards from the graveyard back. We saw it on Terra, and there's a bunch of different ways to be able to do that, where it's stuff like Primeval's Glorious Rebirth, which is bringing everything back, or just like, one thing at a time with like reanimate style effects. We've got the Limit Break. So this is equip weapons, raise your stats past 7. So it's based around Final Fantasy VII, and the main commander is obviously Cloud. It's not based on any particular part of the game, but it's based around that limit break mechanic and reaching it. So you're aiming to get to 7 power. Weapons are a type of artifact that you equip onto your creatures in the game. In Magic, they generally will come for stat bonuses as well as some other types of bonuses. You can only equip them on your turn as a sorcery unless you've got other ways to do it, but you can move them between creatures too. And that limit break part is based around, the powers matters. You want to have creatures above 7 power, and that means, getting them up there, whether it's, through the weapons that are equipped here or other ways. And it's a very interesting way to kind of show that kind of limit break mechanic too. We've got the Counter Blitz. So this is adding counters and then passing them around. It's based around Final Fantasy X's Heroes and Villains, which the main commander here is Titus. Now, while there is some inspiration from Blitzball, the actual part that the actual deck is based around is the sphere grid mechanic, where it's representing like customization and stat increases that are kind of coming from that. And it's going to be likely be not just like, the +1/+1 counters that you see on a lot of creatures, but other types of counters as well, like, flying, death touch, those kinds of counters, which is really cool. So counters are like a permanent buff that are giving to creatures that either give, power and toughness type changes or like extra static abilities. There's shield counters, which makes it so that the next time the creature would be dealt damage or destroyed, it doesn't do it. There's death touch counters, etc. And then the passing around, Titus, we can see does that, where he moves counters between creatures, and then you proliferate as well. So you kind of, making it so they have 2 times of that. And it's like passing around knowledge or XP, however you kind of want to think about that. We've got the Scions Unspellcraft as the final one here. Become a Master Caster, card advantage, and control. So this is based around Final Fantasy XIV's Heroes and Villains. The main commander here is Y'shtola, and it's primarily around the Shadowbringers expansion. It's very likely going to be like a Spell Slinger deck, or at least not creature-based, casting instants, sorceries, artifacts, enchantments, etc. to pressure your opponents, deal damage to them, and do a whole bunch of cool stuff there. This is backed up by like the control part, where it's like, slowing your opponents down, halting their progress, making it so that they're less likely to be able to hit you, all that kind of cool stuff, making it so that they don't have a hand and all that kind of stuff, making their spells more expensive. Now, if you guys are liking this content so far, make sure you subscribe, make sure you share the video around, all that kind of stuff helps out our small channel here a huge amount. So going into the revealed cards, there's been a couple extra revealed cards since the start, where we've seen these 2 guys there. Both of them were revealed on their birthdays, like their real life birthdays apparently. And it looks like the green and red, so Gruul, is going to be based around landfall. And this ability here with the Gladius is crazy. We've seen very little creatures that can get any land cards from your deck, and him having that is going to be really, really, really interesting. We've got the Emmett Selch here, showing that some of the cards are going to be flip cards here. So based off of various different things, you could end up having cards that will on one side do one thing, and then you flip them or transform them, as Emmett does here, into a secondary different creature or different thing. We've got Cecil, Dark Knight, based around like, you know, life gain and taking damage and stuff, which is cool. Garland, where, you know, you've got the reanimation stuff, and as you reanimate him, he comes back seemingly stronger, which is cool. Very interesting mechanic there. We've got Sasha's Chocobo. So Chocobos look to be based around that landfall mechanic as well. So whenever a land enters, do a cool thing. And then the Jumbo Cactua, which people are going bonkers for. Stiltskin Moogle Merchant. So Moogle is going to be a new creature type we'll see here. And this guy here is based around handing out your permanents that you've got. So like, you know, like different tokens, I guess, that you get. Sin Spira's Punishment as a huge Leviathan there too. We've got Summon Shiva, which I showed temporarily earlier on with the Saga creatures, and then Tonberry here, where, you know, enters with a stun counter, and then during your turn, this creature has first strike and death touch. That's a very interesting mechanic too. We've also got these side quests. So apparently we're going to get one for each color, I believe, and they are going to be, you know, you do something on one side, and then if you do something, then you're going to flip it over and it's going to become like, you know, something cool. Like this one becomes a land that lets you sacrifice artifacts to buff up your creatures. Now, apparently there's going to be 3 secret layers as well coming alongside them. We don't know what they are, but I know my guess is that they're going to be around the side games, maybe. You know, I know that there's a few people that are disappointed that they didn't talk about like tactics, I think it was, which would be really interesting to see as a secret layer there. We've also got a holiday release. So there's going to be at least two different bundles coming with the holiday release. So this is going to be December 5th. The first is a Chocobo bundle. What it comes with, I don't know. Probably like a special promo, some special boosters, maybe like a special collector's boosters or something like that. Who knows? And then the second one here is a scene bundle. So similar to like the Lord of the Rings and the upcoming Spider-Man one, it'll come with boosters, some art cards, most likely, some special scene playable cards. So it'll be like the scene card, but it's actually the card as well. And then maybe some holders for your art cards too. And as I said, December 5th for those. We've also got buy a box promos. So these are whenever you buy a, you know, box of Final Fantasy, you'll get one of these two. Now, these are only in Japan that they've shown these, so I don't know if they're going to be the same or similar in the US/everywhere else. But there's going to be one common one, which is going to be Arcane Denial. And then the other one, which is Force of Negation. There's a huge difference in price between those. And Force of Negation is absolutely bonkers to kind of see here. There's only going to be 2,000 of those printed, and that's going to go for a freaking fortune. Now, let me know what you guys think. I hope you guys had a wonderful day. Now, as I said, you know, Final Fantasy is not really my thing, but it's hard not to get hyped when everyone else is. And I'm going to be covering it here anyway, so I am very excited. This is going to be a set that there's going to be a bunch of really nice cards from, I assume. And I'm going to be picking up a bunch of singles from this for sure. I hope you guys had a wonderful day, and goodbye.